Good morning, almost afternoon. So it seems as if Magnolia has made her first um, public statement, and it's uh, it's reassuring. It's pretty reassuring that she is definitely on the journey to, um, positive things and healing. I'll read it to you. She says, I wanted to acknowledge that I'm obviously aware of the Chelan County domestic violence police report from Christmas Day and my protection order case have come to light. The New York Post reached out to me yesterday and I answered some of the questions they had for the story they were working on. The police report speaks for itself. This has been extremely traumatizing beyond words, and withdrawing completely felt like the safest way for me to begin my long journey of healing. I've had the support of family, police, doctors, advocates, and my therapist. Being thrown into the role of survivor has been the hardest thing I've ever endured. The impact this has had on my life is immeasurable. And I know it's not something that will ever fully go away. I know the road ahead will be long, but I'm taking it one day at a time, one day and one task at a time. I want to assure everyone that I'm safe now. I did have surgery to repair my nose, and it appears to have been successful, but I won't know for several months, if further treatment is needed. I do know I'm very lucky to be alive and don't take that for granted. Rio is also safe and has been with me through everything. He was not harmed, aside from being exposed to the violence. I don't intend to rehash this publicly, but I do want to say that I'm incredibly grateful for the support I've received and for the many people who have reached out over these last couple months out of my concern for my well being. Magnolia. So I guess, not even I guess, you have to really give Magnolia credit for the way that she's handled this thing, because she certainly could have ran to the internet the next day and exposed the thing fully, you know, burn the house down, so to speak, and she didn't. And I'm not here to weigh or judge anything about her past, only referring to what is presently happening. Although this thing was sort of in a time capsule, right? Like this thing happened um, around Christmas time, and it's just now coming to light. So I think one of the things that's kind of shocking to me is the lapse in time for her order to become effective. And I think that it probably shows an immense amount of courage for her to come to the internet and address it at all, right? Outside of being one of the women that will use their voice positively on the internet or negatively, right? So I think that with what's come out in the past, even just 24 hours, there's been a wealth of new stuff. Her photos have popped up on the internet, and not talking, no shade on anyone who has decided to show them, because um, they've been shared from the source of the trauma. So to some degree, she was okay with sharing them. Nerdy Addict on Twitter, nerdy underscore addict on Twitter or X, he seems to have a real understanding and a finger on the pulse of the whole thing. And I don't know for certain, but it definitely would seem as if he is in some form of contact with Magnolia, because a lot of these things are originating from him. So I guess really in closing, this is one of those scenarios that is a really difficult thing to navigate, for her especially, but for the content creators, because you definitely don't want to find yourself in a position where you're re-victimizing her, and you definitely don't want to be one of the people that rushes to judgment about her character. Um, and I refuse to do that, right? I'm not here to talk about anything in her past that's being brought up as leverage against what she currently has going on. That's not for me or for really anyone to be, not really, it's not for anyone else to do, right? We all have a past, but that past doesn't mean that our present isn't truthful. And when you deal with the fractured and demented and limited minds on the internet, I have seen so many comments that have been so negative towards Magnolia. And it's really sickening, right? Because she had no control over what has happened to her. And people automatically want to rush to judgment instead of, so I know a lot of you have heard, sort of my stance on things when it comes to women and being victims of things once they're exposed to the internet. And it's really our duty you have to take it for face value. If they say it's so, it just is. And you move forward. You don't dig into their past and leverage that against what's happening now and say, oh, well, she must be a liar because she did X, Y, or Z. Those are the people that have no understanding, actual understanding that people change, right? I like to think that I could speak on change because over the past 2.5 years, I have went through an immense amount of change, right? The sort of change that I can identify, right? Not just the sort of change that people on the outside looking in can see. Oh man, you've really changed. Oh, have I? No, I know I've changed. So we're all capable of change, most of us for the most part. So I think that you have to be very careful how you tread on these situations. Now, when it comes to JLR, there's also an equally important role that has to be played when speaking on his situation. I've not come here and said he's done anything. I've made some videos showing his extremely disgusting past, right? But those things aren't to be leveraged against what he has going currently, right? So you have to leave all the doors open, right? There are dynamics that I won't speak about because I'm not trying to demean Magnolia's current situation or position, and I'm not here to rush a judgment against him. Although it seems like there's a lot of things that substantiate and corroborate all of the things that Magnolia is enduring and has endured, right? So you have to understand that these things happened back in late December. And now here we are, fast forward to the end of March, right? So she's had all that time to do her best to digest these things. But at the same time, with it now being exposed to the internet, I can only imagine it would seem as if, looking with the eye of empathy, it would certainly seem as if it's sort of reopening the wound. And I think that that's what the people who are so narrow-minded don't understand, is that it has to be a reopening of the wound, in my opinion. So anyways, I would just say keep her in your prayers. And, if you see nasty, negative comments about her, don't be afraid to take a little extra time and hit the report button. That's what I've been doing. Does it do anything? Hey, it solidifies my stance, right? So anyways, have a great day. I love all of y'all individually. Remember, the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. God bless.